and she's standing still pretty good. So most of the time I keep telling the model, hold still, hold still, hold still. Maybe you could even, sometimes I'll even count. I'm going to count to 10. Don't move. 1, 2, 3. So you can see from her, she's pretty good at this. If your subject can't hold still, or if that's what you're going to make your freeze frame model, you don't need a lot of time. Maybe not, maybe even this, I think this one only goes for 2 seconds. I only need 2 seconds of that smoke going behind her. Okay, so here's our timeline, and you can see that the timeline's quite long. It looks like it goes for 7 minutes. 7 seconds, sorry. So we don't need 7 seconds. I just need enough for the smoke to move behind her. So we're going to take this timeline and we're going to trim it down. So if you see up in the top left corner, we're going to take this and we're going to move this shorter. So you can see right there, I'm shortening up the clip. So trim mode does exactly what it says. You're trimming down your clip to how much time I need the smoke to go by here. How much of that motion do I need? I think that's pretty good. So we are just enough to let that smoke go by. All right, now once we've got that area where I'm seeing the smoke go by, now I need to find still image. So the freeze frame, what's her best freeze frame? So down here in the bottom, I can reset it. See this little purple thing on the bottom left corner? This is your still frame. So I'm going to set the still frame based on a little bit of where the smoke's coming into her, like right there. And her expression doesn't change. So I'll put the still frame just right there. All right, now that you've set your still frame, we can take the still frame and bring it into Photoshop and touch it up. I'm going to touch up her knees. I'm going to add some color to her shoes. So let's just export. So if you see me in the bottom left corner, I'm going to export this still frame. And we are going to export it to the desktop. All right, now let's close this out. Find that still frame. And I'm going to drag and drop that onto Photoshop. And I'm going to touch her up. So let's go into here. A little something there. Face looks pretty good. I'm going to take the clone tool. I'm going to put it on light mode. One thing about Photoshop is there's a million ways of doing things. But for me, I could have took a paintbrush and put it on light mode. I could clone this area. We're just going to lighten these marks up a little bit. So that's one way to do it with that. I could take the paintbrush, put that on light mode, change the opacity, make sure my brush is soft, and then I'm going to pick this area here, just go across her, and up this leg. Got it. Now let's see what's going down here. It looks like she had another shoe on that made a little strap mark here. So we'll just clean that up. Strap mark there. She must have had some bad shoes on.
I'm gonna go grab some lunch.
Okay, so now that we've done that, we're going to take this paintbrush here and I'm going to put it on color mode. Now I'm going to sample her dress's color, and then I'm just going to just get these shoes to be a little bit more like her dress. at least the front part of the shoes. So what's nice about this software program is that you can do this stuff so fast. Now we're getting there. Maybe one more time over those shoes. Really bring them some color in there. So to be able to have a program that you can go in, do all these touch-ups, and this fast. All right, now how's the face looking? Maybe I'll just add a little more punch to her. So I'm going to go to normal mode, lower down the opacity. I'm going to sample her cheeks here. I make my brush a little bit bigger. And I'm going to retouch her face a little bit. Maybe lighten just a little bit under here. Cool. That's pretty good for now. Just giving you a little input of how we can go in and touch up these photographs, and then export it into Photoshop. Let's see what this is here. Some kind of bleeding, so let me just fix that up real good. Any questions out there today so far? Anybody have any questions? I don't see any questions yet. All right, so now that we've got this going, I will take this and save it back to the desktop. So it's still images, copy, PNG, save. Nope. So now this is your window of how you would like to compress this file. I don't want to compress it at all, so we're going to keep it at its slowest compression. All right, now we can get out of Photoshop. Find our image. This is it. Drag it back onto Flixel. Oh, I know what we're going to do. We're going to import it. Let me just get this dialog out of the way. So now we're going to open back up Cinemagraph Pro, and down in the bottom left corner, you can import your still image. So I'm going to bring that still image back in. That's the still image, import, and then you're going to see your knees are touched up and the whole thing's all touched up now. So now that we've got that part done, we can move on to the masking technology. So what the masking does, if you see over to the right, I can put this mask all around her. So what you've got is just the still image. The still image is touched up, everything's great, but there's no motion. So here's the fun part where you start to release the motion. So you can make your brushes different sizes. You can move this brush around the subject, release all that area. Once you get most of that, you can change your brush sizes up here in the top right corner. And we're going to just rough most of this in, and then I'll get in a little bit closer to her. And you're starting to see the image come alive. And so, all right, now over here, you can see where you can change the hardness of your brush and the opacity. When would you want to change the opacity? Well, let's just say you're coming really close to her arm and you really want to blend it in there. You could let a little bit, like 10 or 20%, go into her body. Like if you don't want it to be that hard. But she might move a little bit, so I'm not going to get too close to her yet. And then we'll study the image and see if there's anything that I need to take away. There's no history brush, but there is a way of going minus. So over here you can see where it's up here at the top, there is an eraser which will let you erase what you've done. So top right corner, there's the subtraction, the additive, and the subtraction. So those two are your tools, and then of course the size of the brush. So we're going to go in here, clean this up. So the mask helps because it shows you exactly where you're doing this. And again, you can see her foot starting to move a little bit. So I'll have to come back in there. And now there's no smoke down at the bottom. So in this area down here, it really doesn't matter what I do. I don't need to release anything. I don't even have to be that close to her. So in that case, what do I care? Let's just go back in, leave that alone so you will never see her legs moving. Now up in here where the smoke's going, there I have to be careful of how I mask this off, especially right in here. And then of course the hard part's going to be between her arms. All right, now let's get a little more accurate. Still no questions out there. Pretty cool software, huh? Look how easy this is to do. So if any of you ever come to Detroit, want to go shooting with me, look me up. I will take you around to some pretty cool spots in our city of Detroit here. There's photographers flying in from all over the world to shoot in our locations. This building in the background is actually called the Fisher Body. This is the old Fisher plant. And it's pretty cool inside there too. But I just like the staircase in the background. All right. So let's erase this little spot I got on here somehow. And now I'm looking it over, seeing if there's any movements in here. And everything looks pretty good to me. So let's take this now and move into our looping technology. Looping technology is basically how do you want that smoke to go? And as you watch the smoke right now, it seems to be like it's appearing, disappearing, kind of choppy. So up in the top right corner, well, you can see down here I didn't mask it good enough, so let's go back one more thing. You can go back really easy and fix this spot. All right. All right, now let's go back into loop. How are we looking? It's a little bit weird right there. A little bit more in here. All right, let me go back, fix a couple more spots. All right, I think what I'll do is change the opacity and blend into her a little bit like I was telling you earlier. That'll clean up some of it. All right, now it's going to loop. All right, so we're in here and you can see the smoke coming and going. You can change, if you see up in the top right corner, you can change your speed. Like if you really want to make it fly by, that's pretty cool. Or you can make it really slow. For me, I kind of like it slow. So I think that that's probably what I'll do because it's even more of a mind bender to see it going really slow. Even though it was windy out, probably was going like this, but let's slow it down. Now, this thing here is a crossfade. So as you can see how it appears and then it comes back, starts again. See our timeline down here, you can see how long this is going for. So we go back into loop. It's only a minute long, but it's going boom, boom. Minute long or a second long? It's only a second long. All right, so let's take this crossfade, top right corner, and that just let that whole thing. So if you look down on the bottom, you can see that it's starting to fade from the left all the way to the right. So it's dissolving those two into a crossfade that you don't really notice the jump. And that's the magic of this software is the technology of the crossfade, the delay, the speed. That's the stuff that, to be able to do that in a different software program, or if you try to do that at 24 frames a second on each frame, you're going to be there for a long time trying to do this yourself. So this is, to me, some of the most exciting technology, and so fast to be able to do this. I mean, I'm talking slow here to try to explain stuff to you, but I could have had this thing done in probably less than 5 minutes. And that's being very accurate on the mask. You can see in the mask I kind of roughed most of this stuff in, but that's just to kind of show you. But if you really want to sit there and play, depends on how, you know, accurate you want to be in all your stuff in there. Anyways, now if you didn't want to do this repeat in the top right corner, you can also go into the bounce. So I figured I'd at least show you this. Isn't that cool? Look at that. It just keeps bouncing. So bounce means it gets to the end of the timeline, goes back and forth, back and forth. That'll drive you crazy. But you can put a delay on it. Delay means it holds it, delays everything that's going on, and then, well, we don't want to wait that long, so why don't we just do a little delay? It'll stop for a second and then bounce. So in other words, let's say you've got this plan, nobody sees anything for the delay, and they're like, wow. And then all of a sudden, you trick them by a move. So that's pretty cool too. All right, so that's your bounce technology. Let's go back to repeat. Repeat means it's just going to keep going in one direction, and then I put the crossfade into there. There's no delay. I don't want to stop it. I mean, you could, again, let it stop. All of a sudden, excuse me, it would come to life, and that would freak somebody out. So the whole reason for this, excuse me, is you're the artist. You're going to look at your work and figure out what you want to do with your work to trick the viewer and have impact in your photograph so that it stands out. Excuse me. The impact of this photograph, my opinion, is just the smoke. And the fact that it's colored smoke. So it's nice to be able to have this kind of technology and do this type of stuff. All right, let's look through some questions here. First person says, what kind of lighting is this? So let's go back into this little clip here, which shows the location again. This is the Fisher Body plant in Detroit. We got another one that's pretty famous called the Packard plant. This is my light. It's called the Skylux. It's made by Westcott. It's a 1,000-watt LED light. I've got a grid on it and barn doors. Helps me direct the light right to her face. This light here is unbelievable. That's the ballast that fires it up. Hang that on your stand, plug it in. I have a 1,000-watt Honda generator that goes everywhere with me, and this is the way, this is basically the future of photography. You're not going to be using flashes in the future. Take your flash and throw it out. How are you going to make a movie with your flash? If we're on this whole thing, this frontier of where technology's going, if you shot a video in 4K with a new 4K cameras and the file's an 8 meg file, you think you're going to be taking pictures in the future? There's my Honda generator. We are not going to be taking photographs. We're going to be making movies and then extracting the still frame from the movie. You know what I like about this? Is you can't cheat. You cannot cheat. If you don't know what you're doing, this right here, for me, being a professional, is going to separate the professionals from the amateurs, because there's too many amateur photographers out there don't know what they're doing. And then they take it into Photoshop and just doctor the whole thing up all day. Okay, now, show me you can do this live, make a movie. If you want to study under somebody that's good, study under people, cinema photographers. They don't Photoshop nothing. They get the movie right. They get the lighting right then. The white balance, the color, everything. This is the future of lighting right there. Skylux. Look at that. All you need is a little generator or some kind of little power pack to fire these things up. And look how we've lit up her face. So if you think you're going to be making movies with flash, I'm sorry to tell you that there's not going to be any flashes in the future if you're going to be making movies. You ever heard of what we call now a hybrid photographer using hybrid cameras? Hybrid photographer just means you're shooting stills and movies. Are you going to shoot a movie with terrible lighting? Oh, just because your camera can shoot at 40,000 ISO? Sorry, but you can tell that I'm a big advocate of, and I'm trying to get photographers to realize that constant lighting is the future for us. So, Eric, your question about lighting is basically LED for daylight, and then you can use tungsten lighting if you're inside. You want to match it to some kind of thing, some kind of tungsten lighting inside. Okay, so what was this guy's question? So first I have to choose like a keyframe in cinema photography, right? That's your question. Well, basically you want to first mask off your area. Let's go back into Flixel. We don't need that anymore. Local Photoshop won't close. There we go. Oh, here it is down here. There it is. All right, so we're back into here. Need some more questions. We've got our trim figured out. We've masked it, went around, masked the image. Now we're in the looping technology. We've got the looping technology into repeat. The speed's down real slow, and we have the crossfade into there. Once you've got that set, I mean, basically your video's done. I mean, I can see a few more spots that I could clean up on here. So let me just make sure. Once you've got that done, you can actually go into some adjustments now. This is where, again, I'm a big advocate of trying to get the shot correct in the beginning. You shouldn't need to have to adjust your color temperature unless you really want to change it later. I mean, that looks kind of cool with it really warm. But if we just keep it normal, I did white balance, I did do all that. If you want to tint it, make it weirder looking, like she's on Mars, you can do that. You can adjust your exposure. But you can tell the exposure is perfect, right set where it is. So you do have these adjustments. If you didn't get it right in the beginning, you can see what each one of these buttons do. But I'd like to just keep them all in the center. Just let it be exactly where. If you do something and you don't like what you did, this is a vignette you can put around the photo too. Kind of darken up the edges. I kind of like it the way it is. But these are the reset buttons. I'm in the top right corner of your screen. You can reset. If any of this stuff happens, you can reset anything if you didn't remember where your adjustment was. All right. So now let's move into the effects. This is kind of neat, be able to have these effects built right into the software program, because again, if you tried playing with all these, it would be a lot of time to try to do this in Photoshop to get this to look like that, or in Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere. But it comes with these built into it. So I'm clicking through these to show you what the different effects are. This one's pretty cool. I like this one. You can fade it out. Now, probably if I did pick a filter, it's going to be this pop one, because if you do that, I mean, watch this again. Let's go back to pop again. Ready, set, go. I mean, look at the colors now. Wow. Love it. So definitely that would be my choice. That's a bit much. That's not me either. So it's up to you to pick what you like. That would be mine for this. So let's see. Do we have any other questions in here? In terms of workflow, should I post-process my videos in Premiere Pro or similar software to make the videos pop a bit more prior to bringing them into Flixel? Sure you could, but we do have this filter right here called Pop that would do it too. So if you don't want to deal with all that and you want it to be an easier method, you could do it here, or you could go into the adjustments in your camera and do them in the camera. You could do it in post, or you could do it in Flixel software. I think this pop filter here does a pretty good job there. So that is a question from Eric. Let's see what other questions. Okay, this guy says, missed the beginning of the webinar, but my question would have been about image size and format. I'm shooting with a Nikon. Do you shoot RAW or JPEG? They're not photographs. The future of the photography will not be photographs. Future of photography is living photographs, which are movie clips. So if you can, buy yourself a Panasonic GH4. It shoots 4K. Each frame is an 8 meg file. I can make a 16 by 20 from an 8 meg file with 4K resolution. That's from a still frame. If you don't know how to take photographs and you don't know how to expose and you don't know anything, then you got to take photographs and shoot RAW so you can spend all day in Photoshop. If you want to be able to shoot a movie, then you got to forget about Photoshop and learn how to expose the image and color balance and shoot movie clips with good lighting. So here I showed you the movie clip showing how easy it is to shoot with constant lighting. It's not that difficult. Go in here, set up a light. Okay, how hard is that? And what you see is what you get. Constant light, you need a little bit of a generator. There's my generator. Okay, so I got a little Honda generator with the cord plugged into my light. I can take that light anywhere. This is where we're going in photography. The reason why these Flixels stand out so nice is because no one's used to seeing a still and a video. So it's kind of standing out in the crowd because of how different it is. And again, if you want your work to stand out, then you got to do something that's on the leading edge of technology. And the leading edge of technology is hybrid photography. We're shooting movie clips and we're putting a still frame in the movie clip. But in the future, what do you see as being displayed on people's walls? I see LED TVs everywhere because LED flat screens are going to be rolled out in a mat. They're not even going to be hard surface anymore. You're going to roll out a mat, put it on the wall, and the images are going to be changing. There's not going to be just one photograph. Yeah, there'll be frames around them, but as we move into the future of LED, you're going to have LED lights everywhere. We already have the technology of LED lights that's a mat. You open the mat up and stick it on the wall, and there's your light. We've already seen into the future. We know where we're going. The future is movies. So to do that, you're going to want to get into what we call 4K, because then you can touch up the images better and you have better resolution. And the 4K TVs are here now. They're kind of expensive, but if you're shooting 4K now, then you're ready for it. We already have the Panasonic one Panasonic GH4 is only $1,600. So my advice to you is to start doing these Flixels. We're going to have some specials for you at the end of this webcast. Just mention my name and you're going to get a discount. We're going to have a code. But if you're interested in that Skylux light, that's by the F.J. Westcott Company. And there's dealers all over the United States that sell that light. And you can kind of see it working here. I will actually have a whole video on how we shot this shot later on. You'll see some before and after shots to see what that light was actually doing. I wish I had the before image to show you, but anyways, next question somebody has here, do you have any advice on posing models? If you get a really good model, you don't even have to pose her. She just knows how to work the camera. All you're doing is watching the details. Is the hair in her face? Is the hair in her eyes? Is string showing? Is something crooked? You know, the job of the photographer is to try to make sure that you're not having to do too much work in Photoshop. So as far as posing goes, there are books and videos and things out there. I have a video on posing guide that teaches all the foot positions, body angles, expressions, all that kind of stuff. But if you get a good model like this one here, this is Melina, you don't have to say anything to her. All you got to do as a photographer then is make sure you got your composition correct. So for my composition, you can see I've got that. What I think is unique about the building is the staircase. So all the staircase is there for is to frame her, frame around her, put something there to mimic her body angle. And that's kind of how I chose this angle. But we're all photographers. We're all out there trying to do the same thing, trying to do a good job, trying to stand out in the crowd. And that's just from good lighting and getting your exposures and all your stuff correct there. I'm going to be at Photoshop World in a few weeks. So if any of you are going out there, I'm going to have a class on how to do this on the stage in the trade show. Flixel will actually be there too. All right, so is anybody ready for the special now? If you want this software and you want the special, you can save 15% if the code that you would tell Flixel is Elite Photo. That's the name of my company. My studio is called Elite Photo, ELITEFOTO. So if you're looking for a special on this software, order it as soon as you can, and you're going to get a 15% discount by mentioning Elite Photo and James Schmelzer. I also have some instructional videos. I have a video on how to do boudoir photography that's quite long, hour-and-a-half long, shows you sets and props and lighting, and there's tons of information on that video. It's on Amazon for $89. If you purchase it, if you call me today, you can get it for $50, free shipping, if anybody wants that. If you want my phone number, it's 586-566-6204. I'm Elite Photographic Studio in Shelby Township, Michigan, just out of Detroit. All right, let's hit some more questions here. Looks like the majority of the questions that everybody's excited about is that constant light, LED light, called the Skylux from Westcott. So I'm going to be posting more of these webinars, and almost every one of them is with the Skylux. And if you purchase the software, there's a couple videos in there too. One shows how to use the Westcott's ice light, and another one shows you how to use the Skylux on location. So the software even comes with a couple of instructional videos in there teaching you how to do constant lighting. All right, so remember, 15% off by mentioning Elite Photo on the software. Get your software today. Any more questions today? Any more questions? Okay, so once you've got your your video done here, what do you do with it? Well, it's a couple things. Up at the top up here, you can render it. And in the rendering, you can see there's a couple different renderings in here as far as compression goes and quality. I usually stick with Apple ProRes 422 is a high quality resolution. This day of this video, I did not have my 4K camera, and then so the resolution isn't up to 4K, but the software does do 4K. And now in here is your repetitions, like how long do you want this to repeat for? And then these are your format rates. So untitled movie, Melina. Melina movie. All right, so now it's rendering it. And you can see it's almost done already. So it instantly renders it. Like I said, if it was in 4K, it might have took a half a minute longer. So it's pretty quick. And again, the clip's not that long. It's only 1 second. All right. Now that it's done, if you want to put this on Facebook, Facebook does not, Facebook has to recognize the movie. So you would want to render it as a GIF, or just the way we did, and save it to your desktop, and then you can just load it in there. But if you want to upload this video to Flixel and let it play on Flixel's site, Facebook would not play it right out of Flixel because it doesn't understand it. So we figured most of this out for you. All right, let's make a caption for this. What do we want to call this? How about color explosion? All right. Now we are going to upload this to Flixel. And they're processing that one. So let's go into my profile and see the one, same thing that I just did yesterday. And there it is. Now, down here where you can see I'm at is the embed code. That's the link to take anybody to this. So let's say you got your website, you want to put that in there, pop this in your website. Let's say you've got your, anywhere you want to post this, that would be information that your webmaster is going to want to know. Once this is up on your Flixel thing, you can keep it private, or you can let everybody else see it and enjoy it. So Flixel has a showcase that showcases your profile. And here's my profile, and you can kind of see some of the things I did. This is one I just did 2 days ago. This is an engagement couple, and this is the idea that she had. She wanted something very sexy to remember this time in her life. And so I did take photographs, but then I said, hang on. And again, you have to have a really good tripod. This has to be rock solid. You got to tell them, don't move. And you got to have good lighting. This one here, I just white balanced the camera with a blue filter in front to trick the camera to think it was cool out, and then it turned everything red. So I over processed this to look really red just to give it a real warmth to it, an evening look. And then again, just erase the water away. Here's another one I shot. This guy stood there rock solid. Again, count to 10, don't move. And I've got a couple Skyluxes in there. Again, there's no flash. Don't even think about bringing a flash. No more flashes, no more strobes in the future. It's all constant lighting. They're all movie clips. We're hybrid photographers. Flash is gone. It's over with. Yeah, I'll show you another one. And this one was pretty cool. So for this shot, I'm in Detroit. I have my own orange cones. I put the orange cones out in the street. I block traffic. She stood in the middle of the street. Police pull up. And they're like, "You can't do that." He's like, "Do you want me to block traffic for you?" I'm like, "Cool." So police in Detroit are pretty nice. They assist photographers. Of course, he wanted a picture with the model afterwards, so I kind of figured that was what it was. It's my buddy Dave Santia, world famous painter. You can see he painted the painting of Tyra Banks back there. So we've only thing that moves is his hair. So we've made a little. We used a reflector to sweep past him to blow the hair, and that's the motion. So as a photographer, it's your job to figure out what's the motion going to be. This one, it's just the candles flickering, real subtle. But if you watch this on a really big 4K TV, this is really something to see. But what's nice about it, again, is that I could go through and touch up all this grass. There were some brown spots. I went through, touched all that up, and it's nowhere near any of the spots that have the motion. So when you go to edit and retouch, just touch up the spots that aren't being let go. Here's another one I just shot the other day. And just again, just watching the movement back there of the water moving. So I hope this has helped you. I don't see any more questions. If you're just coming in on this webcast, get your discount on the software. 15% off today. Just mention Elite Photo or my name, James Schmelzer. That's your code. So the code that you type in is ELITEFOTO. So my name is James Schmelzer, photographer from Detroit. I hope I inspired you to go out there and make some cool videos that we can play on our TVs in the future and on our smartphones and on our iPads. And so this is where we're going. So I appreciate you all listening in. I hope you took advantage of the savings on the software. And look me up on Facebook, James Schmelzer. Have a great day. That's the end of the webcast. Thank you all.